Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Lollipop and today we are doing a full lineup comparison of all two bikes in the 2022 Trek Excalibur range. So yes, this is going to be a quick but in-depth comparison between the Trek Excalibur 8 and Excalibur 9 for 2022, since the Excalibur 7 has officially been discontinued. And as always, I'll complete this table at the end of the video and give my thoughts on which bike is a better value. And for those of you that do not know, the Excalibur bikes are Trek's aluminum cross-country race bikes, designed to be fairly lightweight and efficient for lighter trails and for longer distance cross-country riding. I'll show the geometry specifications on the screen right now for the frames, but they have not changed since 2020 or 2021. These bikes do have Boost 110 spacing in the front with a through axle for added strength, and Boost 141 in the rear with a quick release axle, which is not ideal since these are not as strong for mountain biking, but hopefully Trek updates this in the near future. What is nice though is that these frames have a tapered head tube for added strength, and mounts for a rear rack and for a kickstand in case you want to use it as your everyday bike. But I'll start off this comparison by first talking about the shared components between these bikes. So both the Excal 8 and 9 use the same exact Excalibur frame, seat, stem, handlebars and grips, threaded bottom bracket, pedals, and the entire wheel set including the tires. And I'll mention here that both bikes come fully tubeless prepared with sealant installed, so no inner tubes, which means no risk of pinch flats, and you can put less PSI in your tire to improve grip and comfort. For the differences between the bikes, I'm going to start off by discussing the prices. So the Excalibur 8 currently costs $1,530 US dollars or 1,250 British pounds, while the Excal 9 goes up in price to $1,930 or 1,525 pounds. So for a $400 price increase, let's talk about what changes between these bikes, starting with the colors. So the Excal 8 comes in two colors, which are crystal white, and I've actually made a video on this bike in person in the past, and satin lithium gray, which is a nice color as well. Then the Excalibur 9 only comes in one color in the United States, which is alpine blue, but it does come in another color in some other countries like Great Britain, and that color is factory orange. But onto the actual part differences, we can begin with the suspension fork. The 2022 Excalibur 8 uses a RockShox Judy SL air fork with 30mm wide upper stanchions, a lockout to make the fork fully rigid in flat areas, and 100mm of suspension travel. The Excal 9 upgrades to the RockShox Recon Gold RL fork, which is still an air fork with 100mm of travel, but it has wider 32mm stanchions for added strength, as well as the motion control damper and a debonair spring for better efficiency and damping that'll make the ride more comfortable and efficient overall. Next, let's talk brakes. The 2022 Excal 8 uses Shimano MT200 two-piston hydraulic disc brakes with 160mm diameter brake rotors in the front and in the rear. However, the front rotor on some larger frame size bikes will be 180mm for some better stopping power. Then the Excal 9 upgrades to the Shimano Dior two-piston MT410 brakes, which have better modulation and some better stopping power. This bike actually uses a 180mm front brake rotor in most sizes for some better stopping power again, but still a 160mm in the rear. And now we can discuss the seat posts. The Excalibur 8 uses a normal Bontrager alloy fixed seat post, while the Excalibur 9 goes to a Trans X dropper post with 100mm of dropper travel in sizes small to medium, and 130mm of travel in the larger sizes. Having this dropper post does add weight to the bike, but definitely adds benefits as well since it helps you better position your body weight on the bike to prevent falling over or flipping over the bike, since you can quickly move the seat out of the way in rough sections. But now onto a big difference between these bikes, which is the drivetrain. So the Excalibur 8 uses a mixed drivetrain that is mainly the Shimano Dior M6100 1x12, which is definitely a solid drivetrain that is durable and very reliable. The Excal 9 upgrades some of the parts to create a mixed drivetrain that is mainly Shimano SLX M7100 1x12, which is a step above the Dior M6100. In the SLX drivetrain, you'll mainly find lighter components, more reliable and smoother shifting, and some other details that I'll mention now. So I'll throw up all the drivetrain details on the screen right now so you can see all of them, but basically the shifters are pretty similar. The SLX shifter will just be a little bit smoother, but both of them can shift up to 3 gears at once when going to an easier gear for pedaling. Both bikes use the same rear derailleur, which is the very high-end Shimano Dior XT, so definitely no issues there. The cranksets and cassettes are also pretty similar because they have the same number of teeth on the gears and thus the same gear ratios in the drivetrain, but the Excalibur 9 just uses lighter SLX parts. And the last difference we have is to the weight of each bike. The 2022 Excalibur 8 officially weighs 28.78 pounds in a size medium, while the Excal 9 weighs a pound less at 27.61 pounds. And another thing I'll mention here is that Trek did weigh the Excal 9 with tubeless sealant installed, but they do not state whether or not they weighed the Excal 8 with sealant or inner tubes. But regardless, either way, the Excal 9 is going to be a half a pound to a pound lighter in weight. But that is it for this video. Those are all the differences between the Excalibur 8 and Excalibur 9 for 2022, so now I'm going to give my thoughts. In my opinion, the Excalibur 9 for only $400 more is relatively a much better bike. You get better components in most parts of the bike like the fork, the brakes, the drivetrain, and the dropper post, which is a nice touch, and the bike still weighs less than the Excalibur 8. Therefore, the 9 is my personal favorite choice. And I didn't mention this before, but we do have a smaller difference in the headsets, as the Excal 8 uses a loose ball bearing headset, while the Excal 9 uses a sealed cartridge headset, which requires less maintenance since it is not exposed, so another small touch to make the Excal 9 a little bit better. But that's it for this video, everyone. I hope all of you enjoyed, and as always, remember to keep biking.